Hey everybody, welcome back to Havoc Maker Studio. My name is John, and today we're going to talk about Games Workshop. Some troubling news for a small group of people, and I would say good news or okay news, no change news for the vast majority of players. So let's get into this. So the first thing up is we're going to talk mainly about what's going on with 10th edition Warhammer 40,000. So first up is kind of a side note. So this is kind of for all, actually it is for all consumers of Warhammer 40,000. There's lots of talk that it's going to drop in June. I've talked with a few store owners here in the Dallas area, in the Houston area, in North Carolina, and Kansas City, Missouri. Not the Kansas side, but Kansas City, Missouri. And they are saying that they have not received anything in regards to caps for their stores. What for Warhammer 40,000 10th edition, for those of you that are not familiar with the term caps, that is now the new language, the new happy language that Games Workshop likes to use for the limited quantities. And so say, hey, you're only limited to 5 copies of this. Now, hey, we're going to cap you out at 5. You should be thankful. It is really good terminology to use, especially from a psychological point of view. When you hear, oh man, they're capped out at 10. Oh man, I got to jump on that versus, oh man, they're only limited to 10. I'm gonna have a hard time getting a hold of that. So even though it's still the same thing, there's a difference now. I would say the vast majority of people are going to fall for it, and then there's going to be some people that see through that terminology and go, "Oh, they're limited to 10." So it's that sort of thing. I'm not saying anybody's limited to 10 for Warhammer 10th edition, but I am saying that that's just that terminology. Now, in regards to 10th edition and the caps, we don't know what those are yet, and those are going to be dependent on really 3 factors if you want to get technical. The first factor is the size of the trade account, right? Size of the trade account can affect those caps from time to time, depending on the product. The second thing is how many that they actually want to order, right? And then, of course, the cap size. So there's our 3 things. So how many does the store want to order? What is their cap? And usually that cap for products is dependent upon their trade size or their order history. So if they're a small trade size, I forget the different, I'm just going to say bronze, silver, and gold. We're just going to go with those levels. I forget what they're called. But let's say the silver says that you can only order 30 copies of Warhammer 40,000 10th edition. But since you sell so many things and your order history is ordering double or triple what your store should be at a silver level, we're going to up your cap size. They will do that. That's a hidden thing. They don't just announce that, but it is a thing. Hey, you have a history. You sold 72 boxes of the Horus Heresy, and then you ordered another 72 boxes. Cool. We're going to go ahead and make sure, even though you're a bronze level store, we're going to make sure that you get as many of these 10th edition boxes as you want. So the other part about 10th edition, don't expect it in June. My honest to God guess is that they are going to be in July. The fiscal year for Games Workshop starts June. If I remember correctly, it ends in May. We were always trying to get to the end of May for... if I remember correctly, end of May was the end of our fiscal year. So we had to have a big blowout by then to make sure we meet our goals. And then we'd have our New Year meeting where everybody gets together at a hotel or something for the start of the new fiscal year, which was in June or July. So this is going to probably drop in July. Stores, I've talked to a number of stores so far, actually from Southwest to here in Texas, to the Midwest, which I don't know if we're counted it. Are we Midwest? Anyways, and then East Coast. So 7 different stores that have not received the information yet on what their caps are for 10th edition. So that is concerning because they usually have those about 2 to 3 weeks, usually about 3 weeks out ahead of time. They make their order, and then it counts down, and then just have to count down for it to be released. And then usually Games Workshop will come out and say, hey, this is going to launch on this day. Stores have already made their pre-orders, so they know how many they're getting, so on and so forth. And so far, stores don't have that. My guess is that not this week, but probably next week or the week after is when they're going to get it, their order. So, or they're going to be able to make that order. So that's when that's going to happen. Now let's get into actually what I want to talk about, and that is the good and the bad of what's going on with Warhammer 40,000 10th edition. So we know, disappointingly for some, and actually unexpectedly, there are some people that are still, they're never going to get rid of Firstborn Marines. They've been doing it since 8th edition, guys. So bye, Felicia. Look, I'm going to be honest. It's not unexpected. All the Firstborn Marines, a lot of the Firstborn Marines are on their way out. This is going to be, I think, the biggest edition where you're going to see units rotated out. By the end of this edition, so 2026, if they keep up this pace, by 2026, almost every single, if not every single Firstborn Marine unit will be gone, and they'll stop producing them. We're already seeing them move. I've had a video about that before, where they're moving to Last Chance to Buy or web store only, or they're just moved to Legends. They're going away, guys. Get used to it. Part of the reason is because there's so much bloat, especially for regular Space Marines. There's Space Marines have double or is it triple? Oh man, I'm going to go back and recount. I want to say we're going to go with double, but closer to triple the amount of units available. I want to say it's like 90 some odd units available if you include not only Legends, but the Horus Heresy that have made it over to Warhammer 40,000 and the current line of all the Primaris stuff, where I think you're looking at around 40 something for Chaos and Necrons. It's double or almost triple in some cases. So you look at the Leagues of Votann. I mean, Space Marines are around 3 times as many units as League of Votann. So there's some rule bloat. And then imagine trying to balance all of that for not only the Horus Heresy, for the Horus Heresy unit, which there's a lot, and we're going to talk about them, and also the Legend stuff, and then balance it with the new stuff. That is a lot to take in. So I'm going to give you an example of one of the changes that are going to be coming. So Kratos tank, which I almost bought because I thought it was a beautiful looking tank. I thought, if I'm going to go back into playing and I decide to go back to the tournament circuit just for the fun of it, then I'm going to want that Kratos tank because it looks amazing. I think on the tabletop and on a display board, it would be a great anchor piece for my display board for my army. And also, by having a big beastie tank like that, I can cut down on my model count, which I like a low model count, right? Which doesn't make a whole lot of sense when you're playing a game to capture objectives, but visually, I want a small unit, So the Kratos tank is going to be getting a data sheet change to where they'll have, well, actually, a lot of these vehicles that we're going to cover are going to get a new keyword, which shows what can be used competitively and what cannot be used competitively. And we have a list of things. We're going to jump straight up. There's the Kratos tank. I just think it's a cool looking tank. It's a larger variation of the Sakaran tank, which I really enjoyed. But they're doing a lot of this for the purposes of balance, right? We know that there's also the plastic Sorastis kit going to be coming out. So here is what we can see that's going to be available for matched and narrative play, but not competitive events. And there's a reason also behind this. It's kind of a secret. We don't talk about reason. Well, we talk about, but Games Workshop won't talk about. We'll get to that in a minute. So real quick, there's a variety of Dreadnoughts, the Leviathan Contemptor, the Dorito, or the Doretio. I like Dorito. I think a lot of people say the Dorito. Dreadnoughts, the Kratos, Sakaran, Spartan, Cerberus, and Typhon tanks. Various Land Raiders, Vindicators, and Whirlwinds, Xiphons, Fire Raptors, Storm Eagles, Stormbirds, so on and so forth. There's not just vehicles, but there's units, the Secretary Hoplites and Peltists. Terex pattern termites. I'm not surprised about that one. The Charybdis Assault Claw, Dreadclaw Drop Pod. Those are all going away from competitive play. Now, here's the reason why they're saying it's about balance. And plus, these units don't, these vehicles and these units over the 10,000 year period are out of production. There might be one laying around here or there, but they're out of production, right? The ability, the forge worlds that could make them are decimated. They just need to be rolled out. They don't have a place in the present timeline. I think technically now we're in the 42nd millennia, right? Because it was the 41st millennia, and we finally crossed that threshold. So I think we're in the 42nd. Anyways, in the new millennia, in the lore, these vehicles, these units do not have a place anymore. It has been over 10,000 years. Goodbye. See ya. Now, here is the other reason. We already talked about the balance issue. Here's kind of where the real reason lies. Now, a lot of these units are okay, right? Competitively speaking, are okay. But there are some units that Games Workshop has had issues with. Actually, a lot of these, I'm going to say right now, the issue with these are recasters. The past decade or so, or a little bit over a decade, recasters have been just killing it with these units. A lot of the, I would say most of these units. And Forge World is not putting out as many units. And sometimes the quality of Forge World is nowhere near, or it's, I should say not nowhere near, but not as good when it compares to these mom and pop, these basement or garage recasters from China, Russia, Canada, here in the U.S. that have just been cranking it out because they put out a better product than the original, all right, quality-wise. On average, they have better shipping and the price. They already show that the price is right. I mean, when you are getting around 70% off on some of these $300-$400 units, who isn't going to do the recast? I'm not saying they should recast, and I definitely have purchased recasts in the past, but there's a reason why Games Workshop wants to clamp down on these units. There was, I want to say 2018, that's the first time I went to LVO. I think it was 2018, might have been 2019 when this happened. We had I'm going to call it I'm calling it the Great Fire Raptor Incident, where there were so many Fire Raptors with Gilliman and Storm Talons. No, Storm Hawks. Gosh, what is the big flying trash can that Space Marines have? Whatever it's called. There were so many of those on the table that Games Workshop was going, wait a minute, there are way more Fire Raptors at this event than we have either sold or is feasibly possible. And we've only sold X amount of Fire Raptors, and either they're all here or we've exceeded that amount. There was some hubbub about that internally. And then the year after that, I think it's the year after that was the Great Leviathan Dreadnought. I want to say that was 2019 when we had the stuff going on with Dreadnoughts and the Iron Hands for 8th edition when they got their little book out. Then, and somewhere amongst that, we had all the Adeptus Custode vehicles, the Gladius tanks out of nowhere. Like some people blatantly showing up with obviously 3D printed, rough surface, not even primed or even attempted to paint tanks to events. So it was really surprising to Games Workshop to see that. So they started, over the past couple of years, they've really been cracking down on recasters. And one way that they can do that, because they can't get rid of all the recasters, it's just going to be impossible, is remove these from competitive events. And that's where the problem has been, is a lot of these units being in competitive events. Especially like Legion support weapons was an issue. Blight drones, brass scorpions, not really. That's not issue. I mean, I've taken them down easily with the new Hellblaster units. So I mean, there's some stuff that's ridiculous, but other ones like the Fire Raptor, Storm Eagles, the Sicarns, Kratos tanks. There's the Scorpius Whirlwind tank. Of course, Leviathan and Doredio dreadnoughts have been an issue. So how do you deal with that? You remove them from competitive play, which you remove that part of the market, that the recasters. So you can't take out every recaster, but you can remove the units from competitive play and use lore as a viable reason why they're no longer available. Now, those of you that enjoy using these units for your match play and your narrative play, cool. You're good to go. You're going to have some a new keyword, like I said, in the data sheet. Congratulations, you're in like Flynn. Now, there are some units that are going to be used for match play, narrative play, and competitive events. Now, those are the Adeptus Custode units from Forge World, which there's not that many. I think there's like 6, 3 tanks and the bikes, but the new bikes are better. There's like maybe 6, less than 10 available Custode units, and the Imperial Knights. The Imperial Knights is a big key, and actually the Custodes are kind of a big key too, because that kind of suggests that the Custodes are going to be getting some upgraded units moved over from Forge World to Games Workshop whenever they come out for 10th edition. So keep your eye on that. And remember, I said that. Plus the Imperial Knights, we already saw this. I think this is the Forge World version. This is not the plastic one that's coming out. I can tell just kind of the rough shape of it. But there, I think this is the Cerastus. No, am I getting that one right? Or am I getting that one wrong? Anyways, we've got, this is going to be the first plastic. Oh no, they're all called Cerastus. We're going to go with Forge World Imperial Knights. So this is the first Imperial Knight that's going to make it from the resin to plastic from the Horus Heresy. And of course, they're going to want this available in your Imperial Knights army, since there's only like 3 chassis that you can use. I mean, there's some variations of those chassis, but essentially you have like 3 units. So of course they're going to expand on it, and they're going to want to sell a piss load of these, which I'll be honest, I would prefer the Forge World one as of right now, because the Forge World one had, at the very least from the sprues that we saw of the plastic, the Forge World ones had greater posability. And that's, for a modeler, for a hobbyist like me, that's more important than just getting, a cheap unit out on the tabletop. So that is definitely bad news for the competitive player, especially those that are the Fire Raptors. Maybe not so much the Kratos, but the Sicarns, Scorpius, and a variety of these dreadnoughts they use. They're just screwed. And what's kind of hurtful though is there's not a lot of units out there for like chaos. So look at the amount of chaos units. These are the top units. The Chiton is kind of used, but really the Charybdis Assault Claw and the Decimators, and sometimes the Blight Drones, even though there's better units now for Nurgle, the Decimators I've seen a lot. And then of course the Assault Claw and the Dread Claw drop pods no longer available. So does that mean that we're going to be getting new, similar, at least to the drop pods for Chaos when they come out in 10th edition? I hope so. It only makes sense that they are in the game, because they were used in 10th edition or in Horus Heresy, and all throughout the 10th edition lore, all the novels, all the books that came out, the Dreadclaw drop pod, at the very least, has been available to Chaos Space Marines. They have drop pods. Give them some gosh darn drop pods, Games Workshop. Anyways, so will this affect you? Maybe. Do you care? Maybe not. I don't know. It doesn't hurt me at all. A part of me wants to be a little childish and go, ha, I told you so, but I'm not going to do that, even though I kind of just did. because I know that it hurts to lose your units that you've kind of built your competitive play. But the one good thing about the competitive players or the tournament players, and this is really a credit to their flexibility, is when the crap hits the fan and they get big sweeping changes, they easily adapt to it and they find that workaround legally, of course, which that is one thing that I really like about them is they can find, hey, this is the bad stuff, this is the good stuff, and they do it relatively quick. And there'll be big sweeping changes right at the beginning. They'll go, okay, we can't use this anymore, so we're going to use this combo. This is the way. And 6 months later, maybe 9 months later, there are some changes because we see some big sweeping changes because new codexes drop. And it's like, okay, this is no longer efficient. This army is doing it more efficiently. Now we're going to adjust this. And then probably for the rest of the edition, you're going to have that big change there. That's just, I know I'm speaking kind of vaguely, but it's not like I'm documenting all these changes. It's just from personal experience. All right. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. Let me know if this is really going to hurt you or not. If it's not going to hurt you or maybe your friends, let me know how it's going to hurt. I'm interested in the numbers of, who's being affected, what units are being affected from your friends or yourself or your local groups. And if it doesn't affect you, cool, let me know. Anyways, chat with you guys later. Have a wonderful day.